You don't want to end up like the spokesman for Subway, do you?
Did you just use a term that excludes women from an occupation?
Okay, let's back up.
Ah! Did you just say spokesman instead of spokesperson when women are just as capable of selling sandwiches as anyone? Are you purposefully trying to use words that assert your male privilege?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend. I have brought on my social media correspondent to talk to me today, Aaron Sparrow. How you doing, buddy?
How did I get saddled with this job?
It's true to the man. You got the best hot takes on social media.
Oh, do I don't even try to have hot takes. I just I just see things and I go, oh, what about this? But I'm not setting out to, here's my hot take on this.
That's your niche in life. And the best thing is the first social media topic we're going to talk about is you.
Oh, fantastic. I'm the one shooting my mouth off today.
Yes, you posted a page. It turned out it was the introductory page, the opening page, which should be the page that draws you in, shows you a little bit of action, lets you know that this is a comic book you want to read from M.O.M, also known as Mother Madness, from Emilia Clarke, Marguerite, Bennett. I don't remember the name of the artist. The artist actually does a perfectly fine job.
Yeah,
and this thing,
art's actually good.
This thing is one of the worst openers ever. It's up there with Bendis, and I'm going to read it. And I'm just going to say, I just like this character a lot. Also, Aaron, I was not able to make it through this entire comic book, so I imagine there's a lot of stuff you want to talk about in here. I'm sorry, I only got so far.
I also only got so far, which was kind of my point.
Which is so bad. This is the opening page. My name is Maya Kuyper. I'm 29 years old, a single mom, a high school dropout, chemical engineer, and part-time sex worker. What an introduction, Aaron.
Yeah, wow. I identify with this character immediately.
Single mom, high school dropout, somehow became a chemical engineer, part-time sex worker.
Got your GED, went back to college, paid for it with sex work. Sure, like you do.
Thai food junkie, biological freak of nature, Scorpio and blood moon rising, no drama, no water signs. I like Ruth Bader Ginsburg speeches and Martha Stewart living. I enjoy more children's television shows than is probably healthy. I can relate to that part. I'm on Trash Truck right now because of you. My kids love it.
Trash Truck is delightful.
It's absolutely wonderful. It's the best thing that you're going to hear about this video. I can tell you that. The character continues. I lie to myself every January about using the elliptical I bought 4 years ago for anything more than an expensive clothes hanger. I get anxiety from feeling like I don't listen enough podcasts about controlling anxiety. And I made a pacifist run on Undertale my first time through, including escaping the bullet hell. Thank you very much. I am currently trapped, schmoozing among Upper West Side corporate after party as part of the Female Empowerment in the Workplace initiative. The last CFO had to step down after getting caught soliciting what turned out to be several thousand Mexican scorpions in a trench coat as part of a viral prank sensation. So here we are. And that's the introduction to this comic book, Aaron. This is fucking horrendous.
I don't even understand what that last sentence means.
The Mexican trench coat scorpion thing?
Yeah.
I don't either, but I think he was soliciting sex, but I don't know. That's the impression I get, but I don't know what it means.
And instead it was a bunch of scorpions in a trench coat?
I don't get it at all.
So why is it important that they were Mexican scorpions?
Right. Who knows? No, what's important is this is not how you want to introduce yourself. This is an outrage, a shamocracy. And anybody that opened this book to peruse it in the comic shop immediately put it back on the shelf, never read a word, and realized that wasn't the comic book for them. This is dog shit.
It's immediately establishing that your main character is insufferable and unlikable, and that you're not going to be able to identify with them. It's self-absorbed prattle. And I don't know if this is the intent, if we're supposed to hate the character. I can't imagine that we are, but that's exactly what happened. Like immediately I read this and I was like, wow, I hate this character so much. This character has a smug Twitter way of talking. It's just a Twitter thread of, you're basically just reading a much longer Twitter bio where you detail all your failures and your mental illnesses and put that on display.
And I think this introduction of I'm a high school dropout, chemical engineer, single mom and part-time sex worker is supposed to make the character seem complex. Well, like you said, it just makes them completely unlikable and completely unrealistic.
It's just a collection of tropes.
Yeah.
Of things like, that you think will make a character interesting. But the fact is, we should be interested in the character because you should show what the character is doing. You should show their actions and get me interested in the character. I'm not just an exposition dump on the very first page. The page that is supposed to be exciting is not going to draw me in or make me feel attached to your character. I already feel like I'm being talked to and I'm not being taken on the story.
I've seen a lot of people compare this to Man-Eaters from Chelsea Kane, and I think that's a travesty. I'm not the biggest fan of Man-Eaters, but that's at least funny. And this is not funny. Like, that is an embarrassment to Chelsea Kane to have to be compared to this fucking dribble here. And I assume that this was outlined by Emilia Clarke, the actress from Game of Thrones, and was actually like written by Marguerite Bennett, and that's why it's completely insufferable and terrible.
Well, just based on the dialogue, based on previous work I've read from Marguerite, I would guess that Emilia had very little to do with the dialogue, and that's all Marguerite. Remember we're dealing with unsolicited opinions on Israel, from that same writer. So we're just, things are inserted that don't really make sense. They don't tell a story. They're just, the writer thinks it'll be fun to make this point.
Ding, 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 ding. Aaron Sparrow, you bring us to the second page I want to show. There's a big spread, and it's got people looking like naked paintings of women and making all kinds of comments and all these stupid conversations that are going on within the crowd. They're all completely random. And we get to exactly what you were just talking about. Random stuff that makes no sense that the writer, Marguerite Bennett, thinks is witty. And we've got this character. He's smiling. He's looking at what appears to be a man holding his wife, and they're having some wine together. And this man, who's the not husband, the one that's standing in front of her, says, "Look, I don't want to ruin the night." And she replies, "Then quit spouting this binary, gender essentialist, transphobic bilge rot, Jack." And he says, "Calm down. Don't be all emotional like that. Just give me a smile, baby."
Yeah, that's how people talk.
This is clearly like another man's fiance, wife, or something like that. No guy would ever talk like that to them. And then people don't then quit spouting this binary, gender essentialist, transphobic bilge rot. Like, fucking Mad Libs here, man.
It's so bad. It's everything so many things now read like a first draft without an editor. And obviously it's an image book, so it doesn't have an editor unless they hired one. It's just, whatever the writer thought was funny and clever and a way to get their social politics across, and preach to the audience. That's what made it onto the page. And you didn't have an editor going through and saying, okay, is there a way that we can, I understand what you're trying to do here. I don't understand the editor that would understand what they're trying to do aside from, just work in some bullshit gender politics that don't actually happen anywhere outside of your own imagination. But an editor could go through and like, let's refine this, let's make this better, let's actually challenge the writer to come up with something that sounds like real dialogue or sounds like things that people have actually said. And I just wonder, have these people ever had conversations, or they only have Twitter conversations? Because that's what we're getting in comics now. We're getting these like Twitter posts, these Twitter threads in comic book form, where, they come in and they bang the gavel and they say, "We need to talk about," and you go, "Oh God." And then there's a 40, tweet thread about whatever their latest grievance is. And that's kind of what comics has become. And it's not fun. It's not fun, and it's not entertaining, and it's not moving units.
No, I think this one actually did wonderful as far as the speculation, but by issue 3, this thing will be dead on arrival because this issue is absolute tripe. And Marguerite Bennett's not funny. This is supposed to be a comedy. I don't think Chelsea Kane is especially funny, but that comic that she wrote has some funny moments to it. There's nothing funny about this.
I imagine if you were talking to Chelsea Kane at a party or something like that, I imagine that she has a witty conversation. She could probably banter really well. She seems like she's fairly sharp. So, I think that, Chelsea Kane could probably pull off some jokes. I don't see that from this comic with Marguerite Bennett. I feel like, it's one of those conversations that you'd be like, wow, okay. Can I throw down a smoke bomb here in Ninja Banish?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And we get to this part where we go back in time. We meet this character's parents. Apparently she was abandoned and adopted by a couple. And it's clear that her mother is very sick. Her dad's a scientist and he's, trying to help her out. And there's some of the stuff that goes on here is so weird. And her dad's talking and he says, and that's how we mix mom's medicine. And the daughter asks, how does it work? And he says, love is what makes it work. And her comment is, that's why my dad must have been such a shitty scientist. Then she says how much she loves her parents after she sit there and basically said her dad was an idiot and a moron as he was trying to save her mother. So weird.
Yeah, it's just like you said, Mad Lib's writing. It's just fill in. Something needs to happen on this page. The characters need to say something. So here's what they'll say. But there's no thought as to who the character is, what their experiences are, how that shapes them. There's no consistency. You're writing from a standpoint of what's the next political point that I want to make. Oh, father's bad. Bad relationship with father. So I'll just put that in here. But then I still want the character to look like a good character. So, let's talk about how much she loves her parents and et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, you haven't shown that. We haven't built a consistent characterization of any of these people that you have in this book. It's just kind of random from page to page. What do you think you need to happen? And that's not good script writing. You have to be writing from the character's perspective.
Well, apparently the character's perspective was her dad, who was a scientist who did everything he could to save her mother. Quit his job, was at home, was a caregiver, and was developing these treatments to save her. Was a fucking idiot, apparently, because they both end up dying, whatever. And then this is the last thing I want to talk about. This one was so weird. They go into the workplace. It's her friend appears to be a paraplegic. She's in some type of advanced wheelchair. This story is supposed to be in the future, even though everyone's wearing the same clothes we do now. It's the art is fine. I don't know why this is in the future, but there's these guys with this paralyzed woman in the workplace, and they do all these weird things. This guy's apparently he's like got his hands behind his head. He's dancing. He says, "Check it out, baby. I run the whole alphabet." And she's like, "Yep, the A all the way to Z as the QWERTY files." And then, look, I know you're married to a chick, so of course she's a lesbian, but maybe you just haven't found the right man yet. And then finally, you could have just laughed like the other girls. You didn't need to be such a bitch about it. Who talks like this to paraplegic lesbian coworkers?
Well, when you are writing not from a character perspective, but from an agenda perspective, which is I'm going to tear down men to, make women look better, this is what you get. You don't get real dialogue. You don't get real people. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of awful people that say lots of awful things in regular life, but it's not every person you meet. It's not even, I don't know, maybe like in LA. Maybe Marguerite lives in LA and this is, maybe this is what goes on. But, it cracks me up. Like anytime I get on social media and I'm reading about how terrible people are. And yeah, there's absolutely some terrible people. But I think to myself, what bubble is this tweeter in? Because I go out and I meet all kinds of wonderful people every day. I interact with people that are delightful. You see videos on the internet where something goes wrong and you see people jump in to help, to complete strangers run into harm's way. Like there was a video the other day of a carnival ride that was going to tip over. And all these people just ran over and jumped on and used their weight as a counterbalance to try and, keep those people from getting hurt. That's the reality. There's more people that will do the right thing, in a snap moment of judgment. There's more people that will come to help than there are people that will hurt. And I just question where these writers are coming from. They definitely should not be writing any kind of heroic fiction if they don't believe that there's a goodness in the majority of humanity. That's the hope that, characters like Captain America, who's my avatar right now, that's the hope that they instill. You don't write a story where he's like, the American dream is stupid, it was never real, blah, blah, blah. No, Captain America is a character of hope. He is the character, not necessarily that America always does the right thing, but that the American dream is pure and that we should be working to achieve that. That's what Cap represents, and that's the core of the character. And the problem is with these, these image books and things like this Mother of Madness is there is no character. There is just a steady stream of political commentary that is being made in the form of a character.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you look in the character in the book. There's lots of portrayals of men. Even the father, who she says she loves, is a fucking idiot and a shitty scientist. Every other man, you know, in the background is just talking about sex and denigrating women. The one guy that was standing there next to his fiance or wife did not intervene on his behalf, as the other guy was talking shit to her, of course, because he's a fucking hapless idiot, would never stand up for his woman. I guess that might be the patriarchy right there if he did that. There are only 2 male characters in this entire book that are portrayed in a positive light. Her son, Billy, and then this other guy, I think his name's Benny, who appears to be her neighbor that she's taking advantage of because he is interested in her and he loves her son. So she gets him to babysit for free. So even the one male character that's an adult that isn't a piece of shit in here, she's using because she's a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then the other thing I don't understand is this obsession with sex worker, you know, with first of all, reframing prostitution as sex work to try and make it more palatable. You know, I don't understand the obsession with that amongst these current writers. You know, trying to legitimize that. Like, and what does that add to the character? Does it add to, you know, the struggle?
It's empowerment, Aaron. You misogynistic prick.
Is it empowerment to sell yourself out to men? Like, you know, like, I mean, I guess you're taking the power of making money on it, but is that empowering? I don't know. I mean, I certainly wouldn't feel empowered, you know, doing sex work, but I mean, not that anybody would, you know, everybody else would have $100 bills in their wallet and I'd have a couple of cold nickels, but you know, I wouldn't feel empowered by that.
There was a time when I was much younger where I was interested. There was mutual interest. I found out that the girl was a stripper for a while, and there was no more interest there. I'm just old fashioned like that.
That makes sense. You know, well, I mean, you know, you were in the military too, right? So like the last thing you need is introducing your girlfriend to guys in your unit, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you work over at blah blah blah," and you're like, "Oh god."
I wasn't in the Army. I was in the Air Force.
Oh, the Air Force. I'm sorry.
You definitely wouldn't want to do that in the Army. The whole unit be there with dollars.
It's all the Army to me. You were on G.I. Joe. That's you were part of America's daring, highly trained special mission force.
Obviously. This character is completely cringe, unlikable, and it's like a lot of characters in modern comics. I think this is supposed to be like feminist, like empowerment, like manifesto type stuff, and it just if you read it, it makes you hate feminism. That this is where it's gone. It started out with, oh my goodness, we've sent an entire generation of men to war. What are we going to do? The women stepping up and saying, you know what? We're not going to let this thing fall. We'll take care of the factories and do all that stuff. That was empowerment. And now it's denigrated to this point where being a sex worker is considered, it's considered a good quality nowadays.
You know what this book comes across it just comes across as oppression porn. Is, you know, you want to have this idea that you're just victimized from all sides because you're a woman, that every guy is talking to you in this really filthy manner and treating you as you're less than. And, you know, I know that happens with certain people. You know, I don't think it's the norm by any stretch of the imagination, because, you know, I interact with people all the time and I watch people interact. You know, I don't see that as something that is every single person that you come across is this slavering, this lech, you know? So it's one of those things where it's like, it's almost like you want to be oppressed so that you feel vindicated. You feel like you're pushing back against something, you know, you're fighting the patriarchy, you know, so you're creating your own enemies. And that's what this book feels like. Cause it's like, oh man, I wish that I was more oppressed than I am. So this character is going to be like constantly dealing with this thing that I deal with every once in a while, you know, because that's the way that it is. And like I said, it's not fun. It's not interesting. It's not realistic. It doesn't resonate with people. I think that we've seen with all of these kind of like feminist projects where they're really pushing kind of an agenda, like you're going to like this man or you're a misogynist. They've all been failing, not only with men, but with women, because most women, even in the United States, don't identify as feminists at this point. And it's because of what that movement has become is, you know, people feel like it's a man-hating movement. And in a large way, you know, for many of these people, it is. which is interesting because a lot of these writers are I'm a lesbian or I'm bisexual, things like that, and you find out they're dating men. They've been dating men for a long time, even though they're bisexual. So it's just really interesting to me. It's like I feel like it's all performance art and not actual art.